presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Drivers, start your engines. Pull those belts down tight one more time, warm up those tires, hit your marks, and let's go racing, boys and girls. Nascar, Indycar, Formula One, Formula E, and NHRA Racing Talk. This is the Championship Racing Network. Now here is your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson, with producer John Myers.
Indeed, the gang is all here this weekend as producer John is producing remotely, Matt and I in studio, and this weekend begins with the 2025 NASCAR season. Actually, we got the very first part of it. We'll talk all about that with the exhibition/cash grab that is going to be the Clash at Bowman Gray. Gave you the format last week on the show. We got all kinds of other stuff that we got to be getting into here, including changes in leadership at both a NASCAR and an IndyCar team. So we'll talk about that. Testing in Formula One, which, well, let's just say had a hiccup. Let's see. Fox announces their NASCAR announcing team, and there's an F1 driver that actually can now legally drive. We'll tell you about all that and a whole lot more, because there is a whole lot to get to on this day. And we'll kick it off by looking back last weekend at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Four tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Yeah, we are. Welcome into the show. I'm Steve West. Matt Nicholson with me as well. Producer John doing the whole CRN live thing by remote. So if you have the chance, you can chat with him and say hello too. If you happen to be online there. For those of you that are on the radio, thank you very much for joining us. And let's get into it here. Last weekend, where the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona ran, and when all was said and done, the overall winner of the 63rd running of the famed endurance race was the number 7 Penske Porsche. Roger Penske having a fantastic couple of years here. The former F1 driver Felipe Nasser was behind the wheel when the checkers were shown. His co-drivers Nick Tandy, Lawrence Van Tour met him in victory lane, along with the captain, Roger Penske himself, who is, 88, if I remember right?
I think so.
Somewhere in that area. According to every report that I got, the man was there on the box for one of his cars the entire 24 hours and awake the entire time. I can barely make it 16 without saying, you know what, I need a nap. More power to him.
All you can say is,
Yeah, I know. They outlasted the Meyer-Shank Racing number 60 Acura-powered GTP car. Tom Blomqvist was driving at the finish. The number 6 Penske Porsche claimed third overall. Winner of the LMP2 class, or let's just put it this way, the winner of the LMP2 class at the start-finish line was the number 8 Oreca entry, driven by Sebastian Bourdais at the end, won by a margin of 44 seconds. Again, that was how it was at the finish line. And then post-race inspection got completed, and race stewards determined that a skid block on the underside of the car had experienced excessive wear. Apparently, rules allow for up to 5 millimeters of wear during an event, but they were past that number, which prompted a disqualification. So the 8 is now credited with the last place finish in the LMP2 division. Considering the owner of the car, Tower Motorsports, had their only entry DQ'd, they filed an appeal. IMSA denied it on the spot, so done. So the winner, United Autosports, and their number 22 entry, Paul DeResta, along with Daniel Goldberg, James Allen, and Rasmus Lind driving the car. GTD Pro, the number 65 Ford, which after 24 hours had a grand total of a 1 second gap over the number 3 Corvette. Whew. While in GTD, it was the number 13 Corvette prevailing over the number 120 Porsche by about the same slim 1 second margin. Nice. Top 3 finishers all ran 781 laps over the course of the 24 hours, which means they all racked up just under 3,000 miles run in total. It's a nice little 24-hour run there.
Yep.
Cannonball run. Let's see. This weekend begins the NASCAR 2025 season officially. The exhibition cash grab of the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray. We gave you the format again last week on the show here. If you missed it, you can go back and check it out on YouTube. It's set to air on Fox and MRN Radio, weather permitting, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Time. Winner of the race will get something that we're going to show you here on CRN Live on YouTube. It's the inaugural Bobby Allison Memorial Trophy, winner's trophy named after the late founder of the Alabama gang who passed away just days, really about 2 weeks after being given credit for the win in the race at 1971 at Bowman Gray, which was the final race up until this weekend that NASCAR had run at Bowman Gray Stadium.
I was trying to be nice today.
This is a plus-minus situation for me because I don't have a problem with them naming the trophy after him because it's certainly...
Small plus giant minus.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a warranted thing to be able to name this after somebody who is very deserving of such an honor,
sure.
But it does seem kind of like a day late, dollar short.
It's cheap.
Yeah.
Very cheap.
Yeah, it's kind of a stunt.
You sit there and you hold a race victory from somebody for 50 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You find out he's ailing in health.
You found out he's ailing in health and his time is limited. And, hey, Bobby, we want to give you this trophy. And then, a month later, he's no longer with us?
Mm-hmm.
Cheap. That is 3 days late, $300 short instead of a day late, $1 short.
There you go. Let's see. What else happens this week? How about front row qualifying on Wednesday on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio for the Daytona 500? Set to begin 8:15 p.m. Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Central Time. Thursday, got the duels at Daytona. First one slated to get rolling at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. And then we get to the weekend. We'll talk about Saturday and Sunday next weekend, obviously. But this week, wrapping it up, we get to Friday, fresh from Florida, 250 for the Craftsman Truck Series. That will air on Fox Sports 1 and MRN Radio. Starts 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 p.m. Central. Again, we'll set up the rest of the weekend next weekend on the show. Same bat time, same bat channels. You all know all the procedures, right? Okay. So let's get into some news here where I want to say that this is a whole lot of talk about not much. But the playoff system. Is it perfect? No. You want to know why? It was made by humans. None of us are perfect. But there continues to be talk after the 2024 playoff system where Joey Logano gets basically in because we had a DQ and then goes on and wins the title.
Backdoor his way.
Yeah, but in the end, he got in legitimately through the rules. It's not like he broke a rule to get into the playoffs or the last, the final 8. It wasn't him that had a problem. He's just happened to be the beneficiary of it, and he took advantage of it. But it's led a whole lot of people to talking about trying to change the rules. Well, NASCAR says we're not going to change the playoff format this season, but said that as we get prepared for the 2026 season, they might be looking into changes into the playoff format, and that may or may not happen for 2026. They don't know. NASCAR Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Development Officer John Probst spoke at a competition meeting just this week, said this, quote, "I don't think we want to get into the habit of making small little tweaks every season to the playoffs. Where we landed was for 2025, not making any changes to the playoffs. Throughout the course of this year, we will get a working group together. Some folks, media, some original equipment manufacturers, OEMs, get Goodyear, get some of the drivers. We probably talked to most of the folks about one-on-one about it and said, where are we at? What are we thinking? Basically, we look at that as a work stream for a group of our stakeholders this year to look at it holistically." Wow, you're using a lot of $10 words here, man. I mean, obviously, we know what the whole situation is. Currently, 16 drivers qualify for a 10-race slate. It whittles it down from 16 to 12, 12 to 8, 8 to the final 4. It's been that way since it was instituted back in 2014. Has not been revised significantly since 2017 when we added stage racing and we started putting playoff points into the whole situation. Again, is it perfect? No. Because, again, this is man-made. But what are you going to do that's going to make this significantly better? That causes anyone to say, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and make the change. Are you just going to make a slight tweak? Because if it's only a small tweak, is that really enough to change everything that we've been doing so far? I mean, Joey Logano obviously has gone out and defended it and said, yeah, I think it's highly entertaining. Well, of course, you won 2 of the last 3 trophies. But to me, if you're going to make a change, make it significant enough to make it worth it.
What is real diplomatic when I say this here? Very diplomatic.
Okay.
What is our key phrase that is used on these platforms that we are upon about the sanctioning body of the National Association for Stock Car Automobile Racing?
I'm thinking you're thinking of that phrase of, why are we fixing something that's not broken?
They have a bad tendency of trying to fix something that was never broken. If you do something based off of a system that has worked for well over 50 years, and then we're trying to change something up just because of television ratings, give me a break.
So
stop fixing what is not broken.
All right. So here comes the question. Do we scrap the playoffs altogether and go back to the original system that it was before we got into this and just do the points over the course of the season?
The simple chase format was fantastic.
Okay. So you have no problem with this.
Was fantastic.
Okay. All right. I'm just asking. You have no problem with the way that we got it set up basically right now. And I'll be honest
right now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, okay. Yeah. Let's go right now.
Yeah, because because we're making backdoor gimmick ways for certain people to get in to certain rounds. Joey Logano should have never got past the round of 16.
Okay, but
should
he
have
did.
never got past it. But he did.
Yeah, but based upon bonus points and all the other stuff, blah blah blah.
Well, he got in. Well, not the round of 16. The round where Bowman got DQ'd.
Well, yeah.
He should have never got past that round. Period. I'm sorry. Argue with the wall. I don't care.
Well, and truth be told, that's exactly what you're going to be doing, because that's an argument that's going to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, it's going to fall.
Logano's got the trophy, and it's not going to be taken away.
Yeah, but
So you would go back to the original playoff format.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd go back to the original because the original was never broken to start with.
Yeah, I could agree.
I mean,
if you talk to the guys that won under those playoff rules at the very beginning, I think you would probably find that they would probably agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But, like you said, this is, and every sport does it. It's not just NASCAR, but it seems to be much more glaring to us because that's what we're focused on. We don't focus on the NFL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer, or any of those. But changes get made because these different sports and or series want to try and grab viewers, and we all know that by the time NASCAR gets into the latter portion of the season, the king of all sports here in the United States of America, the NFL, takes over. And when you got the Cup Series made massively running on Sundays, which puts them in direct competition with the NFL, they've got to try to do something. But again, the question becomes, are we doing something just to do something? Or are we doing something because we think it'll actually work? And for the most part, I think we have fallen on the former in that they are doing something just for the sake of doing something.
They're doing something, hoping it'll work. That's a fair way to look at it. They're doing stuff, hoping it'll work.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope this works.
I'll throw it up against the wall, see if it sticks.
Oh, yay, playoffs. We got great playoffs. But are they legitimately playoffs? Just like the National Football League, is it legitimately playoffs when everything points in the direction of that team up in Missouri? That team in Missouri?
Mm-hmm.
On the western side of Missouri?
Yeah.
That straddles the state line? Did I refuse to say the name of? The Fighting Swifties?
Yeah.
Want to call it that?
Where they have the good barbecue, from what I've heard, although I've never had it.
Yeah, I've never been to Kansas City. Don't care to go to Kansas City unless I'm landing in Lenexa, Kansas, to go over to Kansas Speedway.
Again, I'll go there for the barbecue and the racing. Football, whatever.
Memphis, I think I'll just stop in Memphis and call it good.
Make sure you got a bulletproof vest.
And take my chances.
Yeah, make sure you got a bulletproof vest. Probst did admit that he is listening to those who are complaining about the current format and those who think that it is fine as it stands. He admits that while changes will be looked into, he does not promise that any change will happen. Quote, "We just didn't get to a point where we felt like we have to do it. We did hear the fans loud and clear. We are looking at it actively."
Are you sure you heard him? You had time. If you need to make a change, you had time.
And here's the other side of that. And this goes back to the late, great John Jeppe, who 99.9% of you who are listening and or watching this show are going to go, who? If not 100%. John Jeppe was the president of the broadcasting school that I attended and graduated from back in 1987. And he had a course that we did every single Friday at that school that was called professionalism. And he had a couple of great sayings, but one has stuck with me ever since 1987. And he said that there's a difference between hearing and listening. If you're hearing something, you know that somebody's saying something. You might know who it is that's saying it, but you probably really didn't catch the vast majority of what was said.
That's a high possibility.
On the other hand, if you're listening, you know who said it and you know exactly what was said. So here comes the question, John Probst. Are you hearing or are you listening?
Are you pretending to listen, saying you're hearing it, but you're just like,
we'll see.
one in, right out the other?
Officially, we now know who's going to be running for Rookie of the Year in all three top series. We'll get to that, and we'll get to a massive change at one of Cup Series teams that apparently was in the works for, well, ever since they formed, and we just didn't realize it. And as it turned out, everything got accelerated because of one small move. We'll tell you about the change in leadership at one Cup Series operation. Again, Rookie of the Years for all three top NASCAR series. That and more next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. On the Championship Racing Network.
Welcome back in. I appreciate you checking us out on this weekend. We've actually already made it through the month of January. Welcome to February and race weekend for NASCAR with the Clash at Bowman Gray. NASCAR also noted that there are going to be exactly two drivers competing for the Rookie of the Year honor in the Cup Series this year. Only two candidates, and they should be fairly obvious to you, but we'll go ahead and point them out just to make sure. In numerical order, they're Riley Erbst, driver of the number 35 for 2311 Racing, not 23 by 1, and Shane Van Gisbergen, driver of the number 88 for Trackhouse Racing. Favorite for you?
If it's not Gisbergen, something catastrophically is going wrong.
Yeah, because I think we're probably expecting that Van Gisbergen is at least going to win one of the road/street courses. Riley Erbst is in good equipment. There's no doubt about it. And he has proven, finally, towards the end of his Xfinity Series career that he can win, but he's got a whole heck of a lot of more stiff competition there. He doesn't stand out at any one particular court or track as opposed to what Shane Van Gisbergen does.
Let's see, at least one. I see one. One. Two. 3, 4. I see probably at least 6 wins
that he's capable of.
3 guaranteed.
Oh, hello, calling a shot. All right, we'll see what happens.
3 guaranteed.
All right, so teased it just a moment ago. Here we go again. Legacy MC, Legacy Motor Club, changing hands again. Now think about this. It was just a couple of years ago that Maury Gallagher joined with Richard Petty and they created Petty GMS Racing. You remember that, okay? That became Legacy Motor Club when they brought in 7-time champion Jimmy Johnson as a third partner. But the team had not undergone a restructuring for the most part because effectively he was just brought in as the third partner. With this latest move, Knighthead Capital Management, which oversees some $9 billion in assets, includes the likes of Hertz, the English soccer team Birmingham, as opposed to the Birmingham Soccer Club, the Legion.
Birmingham.
Yes, Birmingham, England. Also, they have motorsports and automotive assets. They have a share of the World Endurance Challenge Series. They have a share of the team Yota Racing. They have Singer Vehicle Design. They've got Revology Cars. Let's just face it, they've got their fingers on a whole lot of stuff.
Holy, Tom Brady got your hands all over this one.
Oh, wait, Tom Brady comes back. In the restructuring, Jimmy Johnson now becomes the majority stakeholder in Legacy MC. The second biggest shareholder is Knighthead Capital. Maury Gallagher retains a small amount of shares, but he now steps back in the day-to-day operations of the organization and effectively joins now former co-owner Richard Petty as a team ambassador for Legacy as they continue on as an operation in the Cup Series. My question is this, and we talked a bit about this during the Crossed Flags podcast earlier this week. How much involvement is Maury Gallagher going to have now?
Probably none. He's just a figurehead like Richard Petty, you know.
Yeah, but I will go so far as to say this. Richard Petty is still traveling to a whole lot of races throughout the course of the season. I'm not necessarily certain that Maury Gallagher is going to be seen at too many, if any, races, say for maybe, I don't know, Vegas, possibly Phoenix, depending on whether or not his team has a really good chance at claiming a win.
If that's the case, they need to just stay at the house. Oh, that's that.
Well, and we say that pointedly because really Maury Gallagher's base of operations now becomes Las Vegas because Maury Gallagher is the owner of Allegiant Airlines, which is based out of Las Vegas. So, yeah, I mean, I would, you know, if you're going to go to a race, sure, you go to the one in Las Vegas. Maybe you go to Phoenix. That's an easy jaunt.
Yeah.
You know, I don't expect him to. I don't expect to see him at a whole lot of races, except for maybe the Daytona 500. Because hey, if you can go to the Daytona 500 because you're an owner and you have that credential, why don't you?
Daytona, Indianapolis.
Yeah, go to the crown jewel races and the ones that are closest to home. That's about it.
Yep. Probably.
Because really what this seems to be is him stepping back from racing as a whole. And, you know, who thought that? But let's dig into this a little bit further. Johnson announced that he is set to move back to the Charlotte, North Carolina area from England. Who knew this? He's been living there for the past year plus. Noted his wife and 2 daughters will remain in the country until the end of the school year. Then they're moving back to Charlotte, too. Johnson said that this had been the plan all along, but didn't think that it would happen this quickly. Quote, I thought I was going to have 3 more years to understand ownership more. So effectively, once they brought Jimmy Johnson in, this was the plan between he and Maury Gallagher all along, that he was going to become the primary owner of this operation. All right, then. Here comes Knighthead Capital. Their co-founder, I should say, and co-managing member, his name is Tom Wagner. They said that they came in due to NASCAR's, quote, rich history and Legacy MC's ambition and innovation to make it a unique opportunity. We're thrilled to collaborate to drive the team forward, both on the track and within the wider racing community. Now, just a couple of moments ago, Matt mentioned the name Tom Brady. There's a reason why he mentioned the name Tom Brady. It turns out that the former NFL quarterback turned Fox Sports commentator has a stake in Knighthead Capital. What doesn't he have a stake in at this time? But the deal with Legacy does not, according to what we understand, involve him at this time. You know, those famed words that came out just a couple of weeks ago from the likes of Dale Jr. and Kelly Earnhardt Miller. Mm-hmm. At this time. Mm-hmm. But Johnson added that he has indeed talked to the 7-time Super Bowl winning quarterback about a partnership with Chip Ganassi Racing on a possible Indy 500 entry for a driver, for the example, the likes of Sebastian Bourdais. But says that's in the early stages.
I think there's a few others that I would have chosen over Sebastian Bourdais.
Yeah,
but
I mean, he's a veteran name that everybody recognizes within the IndyCar world. I give him that.
Sure.
But when was the last time we heard of Sebastian Bourdais doing much in the IndyCar side? Decade ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. Sorry. I tend to agree, especially with some of the free agents that are out there. Yeah, I would probably look for somebody maybe a little bit younger. And I say that as a guy who's well into his 50s. All right. Johnson then restated that, again, this was the plan all along, that he was going to become the majority owner and that his relationship with Gallagher is indeed fine. Quote, he, Maury Gallagher, has been an outstanding partner, mentor, and friend. I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to work together. I've learned so much from him. And as his professional career takes a different path, I like how he put that, he can worry less about being an owner and more about focusing on family and enjoying life and dealing with your airline. Something he didn't say, but it's true. Mm-hmm. So, again, I don't really have a problem with this move. You know, it's a race team in the hands of a racer. And Jimmy Johnson's been a racer all of his life. That's fine. What is he planning on doing with this operation? I mean, certainly he doesn't want to mess around with a team that's just going to be an also-ran or settle for 15th, 20th place all the time, right? So what is the plan for the team? Well, long-term, he's thinking big picture here. He's not delving in the details. That is something that an owner really delegates everybody else to do. You have your competition director, your team president, and so on and so forth to do all that.
Right.
Johnson, as an owner, got very open during the announcement about him taking over and thought about the big picture, about what he thinks Legacy MC might be able to do. And I think he's got a Trackhouse Racing kind of a thought in his head. He said, quote, our focus is NASCAR. It's the crown jewel, our nucleus of everything that we want to be. But I do feel that there are other opportunities for expansion within motorsports throughout NASCAR in the other divisions. Think about it. It's a pretty small operation right now. The team has a pair of Cup Series entries. It's the 42 for John Hunter Nemechek and the 43 driven by Eric Jones. Johnson, every once in a while, sits in the 84 car. Johnson, 7-time Cup champion, came up, though, through off-road motorcycle racing, has also raced in the NTT IndyCar Series. Plus, their relationship with Toyota might give him a chance to work there in some of the other series that Toyota happens to be involved in. And Johnson noted this, quote, there are just so many opportunities out there in the auto space. You got motorsports, but then you have all these experiential opportunities that are popping up and all these tracks that are all around the country where enthusiasts are able to go out and run around in fun cars. Historic racing continues to just thrive. I've had a fair amount of experience doing that lately. So there are many layers to this car space, and that's what I want Legacy Motor Club to evolve into over time.
If it was me, I would get my Cup program in line first before I step somewhere else.
Sure. And one of those moves may be to get yourself set up with your succession plan. Because while both Eric Jones and John Hunter Nemechek are relatively young in the grand scheme of things, they're not going to be around forever.
No.
And the other side of it is that sooner or later, you've got to either fish or cut bait. If these guys aren't going to start winning races on a regular basis, you need to start thinking about, is it the driver? Is it the car? And if it's the driver, you got to have that succession plan in place quickly. But you also should have the other personnel that are out there training in Xfinity and or the Truck Series.
This case right here is, I've said a lot on here on these platforms that a lot of times it's more driver than car. this case, I think it's the other way around. It's more car than driver, because outside of the super speedways, outside of maybe Bristol, and outside of Darlington, where Eric Jones is constantly up front.
Yeah. If you look at his wins, they're there.
What have they done? Where have they done anything?
Not really.
Nowhere.
Not really much of anywhere, no. They did get some good news also in the fact that one of their main sponsors, partners, Pye Barker and Fire and Safety, has signed on an extension. They're going to be a primary partner for 14 races this season on the 42 at John Hunter Nemechek. First race will be at COTA, the rest of the slate to be announced later. All of that stuff certainly helps because, let's face it, the racing world revolves around the almighty dollar, so to speak. So that's the good news. Jimmy Johnson's name certainly brings a heck of a lot of cachet.
Sure.
And as the primary owner, I think it brings a little bit more, truth be told. We'll see whether or not he's able to actually get this one rolling. Hopefully he does. I mean, again, time will tell on this.
It will. He's got to, first off, he's got to get the quality of equipment in line. Secondly, he needs to get the correct people in line in the correct positions to where the cars will succeed on a weekly basis.
And you and I have talked about this too, in the fact that Legacy MC they're working with TRD, but they're not really working along with Joe Gibbs Racing, which is where 2311 is getting their stuff. They're a direct ally, effectively, to the fine folks over at Joe Gibbs. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you look at the 3-car operation of 2311, they might as well be cars 5, 6, and 7 for Joe Gibbs Racing.
Those cars, they've got a really tight engineering and technical alliance, which makes them in turn a default 5, 6, and 7 car.
Sure.
But the way these...
And the only reason I bring that up is because I'm wondering, was it a mistake for Legacy to try and go their own way? Should they have gone the way of 2311?
No, it wasn't, because everybody's car, with the exception of the external shell, which consists of nose piece, tail piece, and side panels, everybody's internal workings of the car is identical.
Yeah.
So maybe should they have aligned with them? Maybe. I don't know. But they need to figure it out.
Yeah. Get
people in the right position to where they can go, hey, Denny, we're right behind you. Denny, we're about to pass you. That type of scenario.
I got you. All right. That aforementioned Trackhouse Racing, they have a slightly new look to their cars for 2025. That interlocking TH logo now got an open circle around it, the opening right at the top. The new look, as shown on CRN Live on YouTube, features the 1 car of Ross Chastain, the 88 of Shane Van Gisbergen. And I did find it interesting that picture did not include.
They're the only 2 cars running that scheme.
Well,
Suarez is running his base freeway insurance scheme. But why on God's green earth did this genius sanctioning body that we have, why are we putting decals and logos on the A post? On the A post.
Wherever we can put it.
Give me a break.
Wherever we can sell you a spot, we're going to sell it.
Why are we putting stuff on the A post? Hood, quarter panels, and I might as well say it now, the door, TV panel, and deck lid are where only logos should be.
Yeah.
For sponsorship.
Well, how close are we going to get to the point where it's going to become Talladega Nights and they'll sell the windshield?
At the rate they're going, it's not far.
It doesn't seem like it.
I mean,
it doesn't seem like it at all.
Some of this stuff is becoming hysterical.
Yeah. It's becoming a parody of itself in some ways. I agree.
And the way it's going, with McLaren, I'm giving an example, McLaren, they had, 51, 52 sponsors on the car last year?
Something like that.
There's going to end up being 51 to 52 sponsors on a Cup car at the rate they're going. Oh, we're going to give you this half an inch right here by the number on the door. Give me $150,000 for this half an inch. Give me a break.
Yeah, which you can't see on television anyway. Corey LaJoie. This is an interesting guy here. We're going to split this here. First of all, we're going to talk about his on-track stuff. He's not done with racing, but he said he's being choosy about his rides. He does prefer to stay in the Cup Series, and with that known, he's got a ride for the Daytona 500. Well, I should say he hopes to get it into the field. And it's a good hope. It's a big hope.
Because we got an upcoming
big
break.
Ask.
I think I'm going to save my judgment after the break because this is going to take me a minute.
Yeah. LaJoie set to pilot the Rick Ware Racing second car. This car has a brand new number as opposed to what it was last year. This one's the 01. Reason for that. We'll get to it. It's based upon his own podcast, Stacking Pennies. 01. Penny. Got it. They'll be one of the partners on that chartered car, along with Duramax and Take 5 oil change centers. Pretty decent looking car, truth be told. He knows that this is a stacked field. He knows he's going to have to make it in on Wednesday on qualifying because the car doesn't have a charter, or he's going to have to make it in on Thursday during the dual race. I got news for him. I doubt seriously that any Rick Ware Racing car is going to grab the pole or the front row. So you're going to have to make it in on the dual, which means you're going to have to drive better than the car.
Yeah.
Quote, Rick Ware is someone who makes things happen. He's a great guy who's been a generous friend, helping me get this vision of stacking Penny's performance off the ground. He's allowed me to put the 01 on his Ford Mustangs, building off the brand that fans have related to, supported, and cheered over the past several years. And it is an interesting podcast if you've ever listened to it. He comes up with some pretty good stuff from time to time. But that sets up one Matt Nicholson on a tee box. So once we get all the basic hoopla out of the way and give you the other side of what Corey LaJoie is going to be doing this year, the Big Bertha driver will be in the hands of Matt Nicholson, and he'll tee off next.
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
All right, talking about Corey LaJoie, we know he's going to try for the Daytona 500. Say try because I honestly don't believe that he's going to make it in. If he does, it's going to be based upon his experience being able to race at a place like Daytona. But he's going to have to outdrive the car because I just don't think that the car is going to be there. And you look at some of the other players that are in there in this non-chartered field, and that's going to be where all the drama is, let's face it. So that's going to be the more interesting part of it. So what is he going to do otherwise? Well, LaJoie has actually joined Amazon Prime. He's going to be in the broadcast booth when they begin their Cup Series coverage with the Coca-Cola 600 on Memorial Day weekend. Said of that opportunity, quote, "My presence on the track will look different than it has in previous years, and it's going to be a new host of challenges, but my heart is set on making a lasting impact in the sport and the communities that NASCAR reaches." His role with Amazon Prime is also set to join veteran broadcaster Danielle Trotta. They're going to do both pre- and post-race coverage. Trotta, of course, is now a host on Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Said about this on Monday when she announced this new job that she was going to not be leaving that radio hosting gig, but do this in addition to that. As noted, she is a broadcast veteran. She's covered plenty of sports, motorsports that include NASCAR and IndyCar, along with many stick and ball sports and more than 15 years in the business. Includes a stint as a host of the late and lamented NASCAR Race Hub back, when Fox Sports actually seemed to care about NASCAR. She said of this opportunity, quote, "NASCAR is entering a new frontier by welcoming their first streaming partner in Prime Video, and to be chosen as the host for this inaugural season, it's a huge honor. I've covered Corey throughout his respective driving career. Can't wait to join him on the desk, bringing our knowledge and experience to millions of fans, beginning with the crown jewel NASCAR races at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Coca-Cola 600. May can't come soon enough." Danielle is understandably thrilled about this. I get it. Corey should be, because this could potentially, depending on how good he does, set him up for his post-driving career.
There's a tie into this.
And I'm sure that there is, obviously. But, again, he says he's not done driving. But he
better pick it up.
But he's not going to do that, unfortunately, with Rick Ware Racing.
No.
We have said this before many, many times. Rick Ware might be the nicest person on the planet. I'm not disparaging Rick Ware as a person. I don't know him, never met him, wouldn't know him if he came up and smacked me in the face right now.
When you're having more success in the National Hot Rod Association than anywhere else, put your eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
Go to where you're having success.
Sure.
Elaborating on my little connection here. Danielle Trotta, Corey LaJoie. You know where the connection is here? Robbie Benton.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle's married to Robbie. Robbie is the president of Rick Ware Racing.
Yeah.
Secondly, Corey, you said something this week.
Speaking of stacking pennies.
That was released on Fox Sports through Media Day. Yes, everybody's goal is to make it to race on Sunday. That is your ultimate end-game goal. Okay? But when you make the comment of, I don't know if I want to be running on Fridays and winning races with 12 people in the stands, or Saturday with whatever, how many people in the stands. I want to be an F3 driver. I want to be an F1 driver. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's only...
Primo Racing wanted to be an F1 team too, but where are they at? They're at IndyCar.
Yeah. And there's only 20 seats right now, 22 next year when Cadillac GM comes in. But let's face it, you're trying to funnel everybody from Formula 3 up into Formula 2. And all of those drivers try to get into Formula 1, but it's that bottleneck that we were talking about sometime back when it came to Toyota, and the fact that you've only got this small number of seats, and you got all these drivers within the Toyota development program.
First off, I think this is my opinion. If you want to argue with the wall. I don't care. Why are we allowing one car? Just because when somebody gets in one car, we're allowing the car number to change automatically. Case in point, car 15, which is technically that 01 car that you just saw on the screen on YouTube Live.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Brown's driving that car tonight and tomorrow.
Yes.
He'll drive it tomorrow regardless in the last chance race, whether he races his way in tonight or he has to run the last chance tomorrow. He'll race the car 2 days in a row. But Daytona, we get to change the car to 01 because we're stacking pennies. What is NASCAR's number one promoted podcast that they have right now? That would be stacking pennies.
That they promote.
Yeah. They put it on Sirius XM, and they promote it through the web channels. All right. But back to the point, what I was making earlier about what you said with racing on Friday versus racing on Sunday. What has John Hunter Nemechek, Todd Gilliland, Daniel Hemrick is currently doing it.
Mm-hmm.
What have they
Chandler
done?
Smith.
Chandler Smith is, but technicality, he's doing it too this year.
Yeah.
What are they all doing? They're giving themselves a chance to win a race.
Yeah.
You cannot, you just sit there and can't, I'm just going to hope I go out there and be able to compete. I'd rather run 20th to 25th on Sunday than run first on Friday in front of him. Nope. You're in a vehicle. Your job is to go win a race. If you're holding the trophy up and there's 10 people in the stands, guess what? You're holding the trophy up.
How did Cole Custer get that ride back in the 41?
He stepped back and he earned it.
Think about it. And I'm not just picking on that. You know, you think about it. Some drivers will get up to that point and they'll get to the top level. IndyCar, Formula One, NASCAR, Cup Series, doesn't matter which one, you go with any of them. And then they'll realize Matt Crafton, Justin Allgaier,
Hornaday, Skinner, Johnny Benson.
I'd rather win at that level than run 25th at the top level.
Hey, here's another big one. Randy LaJoie.
Yeah.
You ever heard that guy?
Let me see. Randy LaJoie. Isn't he related to Corey?
You ever heard of that guy?
Dad, right?
He went to Cup. He didn't have much success. Went back to Busch Series. We're back.
It's not that bad of a thing, man.
You basically slapped the veterans of the sport in the face.
Slapped your dad in the face, man.
Slapped your dad right across the brow. And if I was Randy LaJoie, next time I seen him, I would drive my knee cavity straight up his rectal cavity to have surgery to pull it out.
Yeah.
That's what I would have to do.
I mean, if you're a racer, you're a racer. You know this better than even I do, but I know this well enough to know this. If you're a racer, you want to be in the car. That's the first thing you want to do. You want to be in the car with the helmet on, pulling the harness over you.
I'll tell a quick little story about the last car that I had, what I had the ability to do with said car. All right. The way my car, it wasn't dealing with the car. This was dealing with the engine setup. It relied on engine setup purely. I could run as a floater. What I mean by that is if I could run limited sportsman, which is in some people, define it for some people, that's steel head engine. Limited late model. Not limited sportsman, that's steel head crate motors now. Limited late model, that's steel block engine cars. Super late model, open engine. Run what you bring.
As long as it fits in the rules.
I could step up and run super late model, but if I finished top 5, I couldn't step back down. I dabbled in running super late model, giving it a shot. Did I have the engine horsepower and capability to do so? Yeah, I did, and then some. But I didn't have the car capable. So what did I do? I went back down. I ran more consistent than I did in running in super. My best super finish is 12th.
Okay.
My best sportsman limited late model finish is 3rd. Where am I going to run to get my best chance to win a race? I'm going to run where I know I can run top 5 versus where I can barely flirt with cracking a top 10.
Yeah.
End of discussion.
I agree. And again, a lot of this has to do with exactly who he's hitched his wagon to. And he's hitched his wagon to Rick Ware Racing. You know, and I like Danielle Trotta. I like what she does. And Robbie Benton, it's kind of like Rick Ware. I wouldn't know him from Adam's House Cat. I know that their intentions are great, but truth be told, their results are not. And if Corey LaJoie wants to continue racing, Rick Ware Racing is not the place that it's going to happen. Sorry, it's just not.
A quote right here from CRN Live. Mr. Plow. We know who he is. Corey's fast on the track to post-driving career. He's too good to run Xfinity or trucks again. I've got to disagree with you there.
I'll agree with the first part of that. He is on the fast track to his post-driving career.
I agree with part one.
I will agree with that.
Disagree with part two, respectfully. Nobody's too good to sit behind a 5-point harness in any specific division.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, all of these drivers, even championship level Cup Series drivers, will moonlight in the Xfinity and/or Truck Series. Why? Gives them a chance to get out on the track, familiarize themselves with what might have changed, and let's face it, they like to win.
I said this recently on these airwaves. No such thing as too much seat time.
Yep, you have said that.
No such thing.
Let's turn our attention over here to Joe Gibbs Racing. They have signed Lance Crackers to a partnership. They announced the brand as part of the number 19 car to be driven by Chase Briscoe. Briscoe will be Lance, I should say, will be an associate sponsor for the entirety of the 2025 season. They'll get prominent placement on the C pillar. You were talking about the A pillar earlier. They'll also appear on the hood of the 19 car at the Coca-Cola 600. There's a reason for that. The company was founded in Charlotte in 1913 and has had their headquarters there ever since. They've been named the official snack of Joe Gibbs Racing, so expect a whole lot of at-track activities and in-store promotions and a whole lot more as the season progresses.
Well, Lance Crackers is something good that you do eat when you're hunting or fishing. So
there you go.
It's a good crossover.
It's part of a partnership that Joe Gibbs Racing and Campbell's, now the parent company of Lance, announced late last year. Denny Hamlin going to get a little bit more sponsor replacement for the 11 car in the wake of FedEx's departure. Latest one to step up is a company called National Debt Relief. National Debt Relief is an industry leader in debt settlement, stating they've been incorporated since 2009 and since then have helped more than 500,000 people resolve their debt, successfully manage their finances in the aftermath to stay out of debt, too. This is their first time sponsoring a team. They did, however, become a NASCAR partner last year at the Chicago Street Course. Cowlick Racing has extended their deal with the company Seabest, one of the country's largest importers of seafood and other meats, based out of Jacksonville, Florida. The company paired with Cowlick in 2024, wanted to continue. They've signed on as a sponsor for 20 races this year. For the vast majority of it, it's going to be on the car of Ty Dillon.
Back at Hamlin, I saw some images from the hauler parade going into Bowman Gray.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some images of Hamlin's hauler, and that is sad looking. Truck. Just the black and white hauler with just little small logos on it.
Somehow they didn't get a major sponsor for.
And there's perfect room with where the white wrap is, and I can firmly envision a Jumpman logo slapped on the side of that hauler at any point.
Sure.
Coming in.
Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I haven't heard who's going to be their primary on the 11 car for the Clash. I have no idea.
Sport Clips.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Okay. As far as the Cowlick 10 car, the races they're going to be on the hood for: Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray, Atlanta, Coda, Vegas, Darlington. We'll see it at Talladega, Chicago, Sonoma, and the Brickyard 400, plus the regular season finale at Daytona, along with the playoff races at New Hampshire, Charlotte, Roval, and championship race at Phoenix. New Hampshire is an interesting one to me, considering how much New England's kind of based upon something of the fishing industry. And you're going to bring in a company based out of Jacksonville, Florida that specializes importing fish? Okay.
Well, Colleagues got it pretty well covered, with seafood and tobacco for their cars this year.
Oh, that's true.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah. Richard Childress Racing's got themselves a banking partner and slapped their logo on the Kyle Busch number 8 Chevrolet called Bank OZK. I got to admit, I've never heard of this company.
I have.
Have you? Okay. They're going to be a primary sponsor of the 8 car for several races this year, the first being Homestead Miami on March 23rd. In addition to the sponsorship, Bank OZK becomes Richard Childress Racing's official banking partner. Okay.
I don't say a lot of positive of late about RCR, but that is a deceptively clean looking car.
It really is.
Deceptively clean looking car.
I like it. And here's the thing. Kyle Busch now he's always been kind of a driver to me that has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Mm-hmm. I think he's got an even bigger one this year because last year broke that streak of 19 straight years of winning at least one race. I think that chip got a lot bigger.
That chip went from the size of a Pringle to the size of a whole tortilla chip.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's the only comparison I could come up with.
If not bigger than that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and finish out this, and then we'll get into hour number 2 and turn our attention from the Cup Series to other Fox Sports has announced their 2025 lineup for NASCAR coverage. Little surprise, the booth trio remains the same as 2024. Mike Joy's your lead announcer. Commentary from former Cup Series teammates Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. You got Larry McReynolds, America's crew chief, back as the tech analyst. Pit road set to be covered by Jamie Little, Regan Smith, and Josh Sims. Pre-race and post-race shows, Chris Myers returns as the anchor. Jamie McMurray alongside. Michael Waltrip will be on pit road pre-race. Tom Rinaldi will bring special segments for the pre-race shows as well. Not a big change there.
Not terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, McMurray needs to be up there because he's deceptively good as an analyst.
He is. And this is smart on their part because he was part of Fox Sports 1 back when they did NASCAR Race Hub, and he did a very good job there.
Yep.
Then there's this one. And I find this interesting, and I'll tell you what. I'm going to go back on my word. I'm going to take this break right here. Because next up, TNT Sports has paired up with the Max streaming service, used to be HBO Max, to do something that actually could be a neat alternative for you if you're like me and you have cut ties with cable. I don't have cable. I don't have satellite. All I've got is streaming.
Could be.
So this might be an option for you. Instead of going and getting all those different subscriptions, get one and watch all the racing.
Don't touch that dial. The Championship Racing Network will be right back. Tires and 2 cans of fuel, and we're back to more racing action on the Championship Racing Network.
Hour 2 getting underway here, and came across this story. Could not resist it because, as I mentioned before the break, and if you're just now joining us, you missed a lot in hour number 1, as you usually do. Don't forget, we start at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. TNT Sports taking over coverage of the Cup Series later this year, and they're going to try something new for the viewers. They've partnered with the Max streaming service, and they're going to debut something called NASCAR Driver Cam, and this is going to grant the viewer a view from inside the car of their favorite driver's ride and offer the experience for as many drivers as are in the race. Now, I say that because it could be up to 40. Unless, of course, we do that wonderful little provisional, which has already been set up for Helio Castroneves, and it could be 41. Each driver will have, via Max, formerly HBO Max, their own channel. Fans can choose an individual driver cam, or you could do that split screen where they take up to 4 drivers. And those 4 drivers are chosen one time, one side of it, because there's actually going to be 2 of those 4 driver availabilities for you. Mm-hmm. One of them is going to be based upon storylines or the particular rivalries that are building up over the course of the year. The other one is going to be fan-based. Bleacher Report's going to put out a poll on their X and their Instagram accounts, and the top 4 drivers from the result of that poll will be the other one. And what you're going to get is you're going to get telemetry that will include speed, RPM, gear, more information there. You can hit pause, rewind, fast forward to live from anywhere in the race. All driver views will be available following the races as well in replay mode. So if you happen to get a big accident that you weren't watching the driver cam at the time, you can then go back and you can look at it. And you will hear all the communication from the driver to the pit, to the crew chief, and to the spotter, which, let's face it, at a place like Daytona and Talladega, that's pretty big.
That's good stuff.
And the other part of this is that it's not just for the 5 races that TNT Sports has this year. It's for all 38 races, all 36 points races, the Cookout Clash at Bowman Gray, and the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro.
See where it goes.
This is what I'll be checking out because, again, we cut the cable. We don't have any relationship to this. All my wife and I have are a couple of different streaming services, one of which is HBO, now Max. I don't have anything for Fox Sports. So that eliminated for me the first 14 races of the year right there. Now I got a chance to watch it. And I can choose the driver I want. Pretty cool stuff.
Yep.
I like it. All right. Let's see what else we got here. While the Cup Series has only 2 competitors for Rookie of the Year, Xfinity Series actually going to have a pretty spirited competition here. They got 8 drivers vying for that. We'll go by car number here, okay? Carson Kvapil driving the 1 for Junior Motorsports. Daniel Dyes in the number 10 for Callig Racing. Speaking of Callig Racing, the number 16 has a rookie, Christian Eckes. Got William Sawalich, who's driving the 18 for Joe Gibbs Racing. Sam Hunt Racing in the number 26. That'll be driven by Dean Thompson. You got, with Parker Kligerman out, Nick Sanchez is in the number 48 for Big Machine Motorsports. And behind the wheel of the number 88 for Junior Motorsports is my favorite for Rookie of the Year, Connor Zilic.
Flip a quarter between Eckes and Zilic.
Gotcha. Okay. We've said our piece. We've noted this. We're excited about it, too. NASCAR's returning to the Rockingham. Both Xfinity and Craftsman Truck Series, not Cup Series yet. Again, you want the Cup Series to go there. Fans better turn out in droves for these 2 races. First time, again, that a top-level NASCAR series has run at the track since 2013. The Truck Series ran there then. Last time the Xfinity Series raced at the Rock was 2004. Same last year as the Cup Series race there. But at this time, again, Cup Series not slated to return to Rockingham. I said it before just a couple of seconds ago. I'll say it again. If the people turn out. Here's the biggest problem with the Rockingham Speedway now. It is not owned by either NASCAR or Speedway Motorsports Incorporated.
Correct.
And to have a track that is independently owned, other than in Indianapolis, and get them on the Cup Series schedule, is kind of like pulling teeth.
Pocono, too.
The track hosted an organizational test, though, this past Tuesday. It was open to the public. Served as a tune-up for the teams as they prepared for racing there on the weekend of April 18th and 19th. And since NASCAR was last there, a whole lot of things have changed. Ownership, obviously. but some major renovations, and that included in 2022 a repave, which was done in part because of the funds that were allocated to the track from the state when North Carolina's Governor Roy Cooper signed a bill that would fund revitalization efforts at all of the tracks around the state that met a certain criteria, and the Rock certainly did. Results of the test show that the track is fast, but not necessarily in the way that you might have thought. Defending Truck Series champion Ty Majeski actually posted the quickest lap during the first round of practice, 166.547 miles per hour around the 1.10 or 017 mile high banked track.
Very, very fast.
This is a lap in a truck, mind you, that was over 8 miles an hour quicker than the Cup Series record that was set by Rusty Wallace a quarter century ago, more than 20 miles an hour faster than the old Truck Series record. But that was practice session number 1. Practice session number 2, the speed got set even higher. Gio Ruggiero took his truck out there, the number 45 Nice Motorsports Chevrolet, and posted a lap at 167.270 miles per hour. And here's the thing. The trucks were faster than the Xfinity cars?
Very quick.
On either of the practice sessions. Trucks were faster. The fastest Xfinity Series lap was Corey Day running for Richard Childress Racing. He posted a speed of 162.431 miles per hour, which is still quick. Don't get us wrong.
Corey was in an actual Hendrick car testing.
Okay.
He was in a Hendrick car.
So is this a situation where the trucks just are more adept at this particular track, or they just happen to fit there, or we just haven't gotten the Xfinity cars dialed in yet?
No, it's a product of a actual little bit lower horsepower, and you can keep it pinned to the ground.
There you go. It's going to be fun. This will be if there was one
and a repave
other than going to Talladega, if there was one race that I could specifically go to, might be the Rock. It'd be a lot of fun to go there.
True.
Kyle Sieg back with his family operation for 2025. Again, he's signed to drive for RSS Racing, where each of the past 2 years he has been. He's been in 31 races each of those 2 years, 81 career Xfinity Series starts, 3 top 10 finishes, career best finishes 7th, which came in 2023 at Atlanta. Ryan and Kyle Sieg are going to be full-time for the team, and they do plan to run a third entry, but that will be part-time and probably have a rotation of drivers. NASCAR's Dash for Cash program for the Xfinity Series is back again as well. They noted the 4 races that will be included in there. It'll all kind of kick off in March at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That's going to serve as your qualifying race. That's going to set up the 4 drivers who will then go and shoot for money at Homestead, Miami, then Martinsville, then Bristol, and they're including Rockingham in that, which they should. It should have that little extra bump to it, if you ask me. I wish they'd included Talladega in it again, but that's my opinion. NASCAR noted that they've rescinded this rule, though. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I'm not sure which. They've rescinded the rule about moonlighters not competing in Dash for Cash races. But they did note this. The participation of a Cup Series driver in a Dash for Cash race does not grant them anything within the program. Bonuses are only going to be awarded to the drivers who are running for points in the Xfinity Series.
Why did they have to make that known again when it's always been like that?
Well, because they did specifically have a rule for, unfortunately, a very short amount of time that said that you couldn't moonlight in a Dash for Cash race.
That is true. Yeah. But
the second part has always been in there. My biggest problem with this is, again, I understand why drivers do moonlight. I do get it.
It's too early to have a migraine, simply put.
I get why the drivers do moonlight, but to me, if you're going to do a special program like this, they shouldn't be allowed to race in it. Let these drivers go and compete for the win.
Yeah.
Period. End of sentence. Because, I don't know, at the Rock, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that's on a weekend where the Cup Series does not race.
That's going to be Easter weekend, correct.
And now you're going back to the Rock. How many of those Cup Series drivers are actually going to be going, I'd kind of like to go there again, or I'd kind of like to go there for the first time?
We're going to timestamp it, 9/14 on February the 1st. I will be surprised if there are not 50 Xfinity cars trying to qualify for that race.
And then you get into this weird little situation where, I don't know, the winner of the Dash for Cash at Rockingham finishes no better than what? 6th? 8th?
True.
Not really a big fan of that.
Yeah.
Craftsman Truck Series News 2025 class of rookies in the Craftsman Truck Series are 6. Start with the number 5 truck at Tricon Garage. That is Tony Breidinger. She, of course, will have a teammate who is also competing for Rookie of the Year. Tricon Garage number 17 truck, the aforementioned Gio Ruggiero. You got Frankie Muniz, who's going to be in the 33 for Rayón Brothers Racing. Got Christian Rose in the Nice Motorsports number 44. Andres Perez de Lara piloting the 77 for Spire. And Connor Mosak, who's going to be driving the 81 for McAnally Hilgeman Racing.
Lord have mercy.
Might be leaning, not strongly, but I might be leaning toward Connor Mosak.
I'm leaning Ruggiero.
Are you? Okay. Not a bad choice either.
Mosak.
I got to admit, I was looking at him.
Mosak, close second.
Yeah, I was looking at him too. So, yeah, you and I are right there on the 1-2. Spire Motorsports has announced they're going to be entering not only their 2 full-time trucks for the season opening race in 2 weeks at Daytona. Well, I say 2 weeks, really. Yeah. Because next week's Super Bowl. I'm getting myself confused. Okay, 2 weeks. Raja Caruth, Andres Perez de Lara. Talked about those two. Those are your full-timers. They're going to add 2 of their Cup Series regulars to that lineup, too. Michael McDowell, fresh over from Front Row Motorsports in 2025, is going to take the number 07 Chevrolet. Justin Haley is going to be behind the wheel of the number 7 Chevrolet, and that adds to the 71 of DeLara and Caruth's 77 truck. So they're going to have 4 trucks in there. Where are we over? Are we already over on the qualifying for the trucks?
I haven't seen an official entry list, but it is going to be very, very, very close.
I think so. This is going to mark McDowell's first race in the Truck Series since 2009. By the way, a series he's never claimed to win in. Best finish of 11th came at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Haley, on the other hand, has a pretty good amount of success there. In 2018 alone, got 3 wins, finished 3rd in the final standings.
Yeah, the entry list is not out, nor are official rosters posted, so it's going to be close.
Yeah, I think so. Nice Motorsports going to field 4 trucks, too. 3 of them full-time, 1 part-time. That part-time truck is the number 41. It's going to be split between 3 drivers that we know of. There may be a 4th added later. Bailey Curry, Matt Gold, and the Cup Series Moonlighter and Ross Chastain. This trio gives the team the experience of both Curry and Chastain. Chastain has worked his way all the way up to the Cup Series. Curry's got experience of both trucks and Xfinity. Plus, they now have a young driver to train. Gold is all of 19 years old, made his Truck Series debut at Milwaukee last year, got a second start last year at Martinsville. Primarily been a late model racer in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. Easy for me to say. Part-time entry is going to work with the full-time ride of Matt Mills in the 42, 44 of Christian Rose, Caden Honeycutt in the 45. Schedule for the 41. Again, a part-time truck will be revealed later. Matt Gold, what do you know about him? Anything?
All I know is he's Phil Gould's son, and Phil Gould's crew chief for Nice. So
a little bit of nepotism?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Short track starts for him mainly.
Okay. And that'll probably be the vast majority of what he gets this year then.
Yep.
Young's Motorsports has announced drivers for the 02 Chevrolet they'll field this season. They're going to go with a pair of drivers. Stephen Parsons, who returns to the team after racing part-time for Henderson Motorsports last year, where he claimed 3 top 10 finishes. He's going to split time with a 25-year-old by the name of Nathan Bird. Bird has only 3 races of experience under his belt in the Truck Series, all with Young's to his credit. Kansas, Homestead, Miami, and the season finale last year at Phoenix. Bird's set to get at least 15 starts in that 02 truck. As for Parsons, his slate of races will be announced soon. We don't exactly know which tracks anybody is going to be at between those two. All we know is that Bird is set to get at least 15 starts.
Yep.
So we just talked about the Dash for Cash program in the Xfinity Series. Craftsman Truck Series Triple Truck Challenge is back as well. The 3 races for that series going to be the same final 3 races as the Xfinity Series Dash for Cash. Martinsville, Bristol, and the return to Rockingham. Bonus money will be doled out to the top 3 after each event in those series. And once again, Moonlighters from either Xfinity or Cup don't get credit. And Fox Sports also announced their lineup of announcers for Truck Series races this year. CW's already done that for the Xfinity. That's why we didn't do anything with that. Fox has announced Jamie Little returns as the lead booth announcer, to which Matt's migraine just got worse. She's going to be joined in the booth by Kevin Harvick, who's going to be pulling double duty, and defending Cup Series champion Joey Logano. Josh Sims, Regan Smith are going to be on pit road along with, considering Jamie Little is now up in the booth, not on pit road, Amanda Busick. You're thrilled, I can tell.
Mute.
Okay.
Sorry, but mute. Can we get some in-car video stuff like you're doing on Max with Truck Series? I will watch that Daytona all day long, people. Jeez.
Former NASCAR announcer passed away. We'll tell you about that. And there's going to be a change at the top at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as the longtime president is set to step aside. Details next.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. Back out to the track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
Producer John, earning his money this week on CRN Live on YouTube, added a new feature. I didn't know we had the ability to do a scroll.
Yeah.
Nice job. Like it. Good stuff. Thank you very much for those of you checking us out there. And don't forget to subscribe down there. We appreciate that. And thank you also to everybody who's listening on the flagship radio station in East Central Alabama. We appreciate you, too. We're going to wrap up NASCAR talk by talking about Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Their longtime president and GM, Chris Powell, has announced he's set to retire from that post after a career in motorsports that covers more than a quarter century. Almost all of that time with Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. He joined with Bruton and Marcus Smith at SMI when the company bought Vegas, installed Powell as the president and GM of the track in 1998. In that time, it grew from not just one, but 2 Cup Series weekends, the creation of the Neon Garage, built the Strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which now hosts the NHRA, plus a whole lot more. Powell was inducted into the Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame. Who knew that there was a Southern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame? Why isn't there just a Nevada Sports Hall of Fame? Is there a Northern Nevada Sports Hall of Fame?
I don't think there's very much going on around Reno and Tahoe.
Anyway, Powell himself was inducted into that hall in 2013, and in 2023, he was on hand when the track itself became the first sports complex inducted into that same hall. Powell's pending retirement becomes effective on March the 31st, which will be 2 weeks after the Pennzoil 400 race weekend. SMI said that they will announce plans for Powell's successor in the coming weeks. Powell said he's looking forward to spending more time with his wife, his 5 sons, and his grandchildren. And then some sobering news, and I'm not really sure why it took so long for us to find out about this. Former NASCAR broadcaster, noted pit reporter Bill Weber passed away. It happened on December the 13th last year, according to the organization that Matt and I are a part of, the National Motorsports Press Association, NMPA. Weber, born and raised in New Jersey, attended Butler University. Upon graduating in 1979, started his broadcasting career that saw him ultimately work for TNT, NBC, and ABC ESPN over the years. While in college, he actually got his start. He was a sports reporter for WISH-TV in Indianapolis. Upon graduation, became the sports director for TV stations in Terre Haute and Evansville, Indiana. But he left television work in 1987 to begin work for Miller Beer's Unlimited Hydroplane Racing program. He was their media relations consultant. But in 1990, got the chance to go back into broadcasting, moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, started working for Sunbelt Video, a company that had just been purchased by NASCAR. Eventually became NASCAR Digital Media. In the 1990s, he began working for TNN as part of their Inside NASCAR news magazine show. Moved to ESPN ABC in 1994, first as a pit road reporter, contributing to their news magazine RPM Tonight from 1996 to 2000. And then when Fox and NBC got the rights to NASCAR coverage, he moved to TNT and NBC starting in 2001 as a pre-race host and as a pit reporter, and actually even replaced Alan Bestwick on lap-by-lap coverage while Bestwick was recovering from a broken leg in 2004. At the end of the year, that move was made permanent. He stuck with TNT when NBC's contract ended following the 2006 season. It was a role that actually led to Weber making a cameo in the Talladega Nights movie where he played himself. But in 2009, he said something, and I honestly don't know what. I looked, but I couldn't find it. He got suspended by the network and effectively blackballed. Again, network never said why, and Weber never really talked about it much. They both only called it a private issue. Weber was let go. He was replaced by Ralph Shaheen, and he was never a regular on radio or TV again. He ended up moving to Florida, where last anybody really knew of him, he was employed by a St. Petersburg hotel as an illusionist. He passed away on December the 13th. Reason was not revealed. He is survived by his wife, Teresa. They had been married 24 years. Bill Weber, 67 years old. I remember him.
Oh, yeah.
It was very good.
Yeah.
I thought he was very, very good. But whatever that comment was a doozy, apparently.
Yeah, it's hard to say what he was better at. You know, it's kind of, I don't know if he was a better pit road reporter or a better booth guy.
Yeah, he was one of those guys that was really kind of a jack of all trades, not necessarily a master of any one. You could plug him in wherever you needed him, and he would fit that role. Pre-race reporter, pit reporter, lead announcer in the booth. He was able to do it all.
He's definitely one that's able to do it all, unlike some where they are considerably better doing pit road reporting versus being in a booth.
Wonder who he's talking
about. Yeah. That's not a knock on the abilities, but when you're good at your trade at one part, contribute to the cause where you're good at.
There you go. All right. Let's see what else we can get into. How about the IROC series? We noted a couple of weeks ago the reborn IROC series set to head west with some of their old racers. And they're going to take part in the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion. Mid-August is when that is. And they're actually planning to put on a race, not just an exhibition where they go around the track in a nice parade. They're actually going to try and put on a race of some of the selected old IROC cars on the grounds of WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. A stock car around the corkscrew? Oof, fun. Ray Evernham announced that several drivers have actually confirmed that they are going to be there ready to race. Drivers that have confirmed that they're going to be in attendance: Evernham's old driver from his time at Hendrick Motorsports, Jeff Gordon. Four-time champion is going to be joined by the 2000 Cup Series champion Bobby Labonte, 1988, I should say, Cup Series winner Bill Elliott, five-time IROC champion Mark Martin, Ken I'll Drive Anything Anywhere Schrader. That's from the world of NASCAR. IndyCar notables Danny Sullivan and Scott Pruitt are going to be there as well. And two others to note. McLaren CEO Zach Brown recently got his hands on and bought a 1977 Camaro from the IROC series that was used by drivers such as Cale Yarborough, Darrell Waltrip, Alan Jones, Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, James Brolin, and Paul Newman, in other different ways of doing things. How the heck did he get a hold of that? Must have come across an auction block.
Somewhere it was acquired the car that Cale Yarborough and Darrell Waltrip drove. Wanted at Riverside. He's going to drive that car.
Yeah. The other one is going to be driven by the senior VP of the Friends of Laguna Seca. His name, Bruce Canepa. He's going to be in a Dodge Avenger IROC racer that was driven by the likes of Dale Earnhardt, George Fulmer, Emerson Fittipaldi, and Richard Petty, among others.
God, you're going to force me to have to go to California to watch this.
Wouldn't be a bad birthday present for somebody.
Wouldn't be bad.
Just saying. Turning to Formula One, former racer turned race steward Johnny Herbert's been removed from that role due to his working with Sky Sports, where he not only talked about F1, but was critical of it in many ways. F1 officials said it was incompatible with their ideals of the role of a race steward, so bye. All of this began last season when Max Verstappen and his father, former F1 champion Joseph Verstappen, were critical of Herbert for being one of the race stewards who hit Max with a 20-second penalty for initiating contact with the McLaren of Lando Norris. I saw the race, and he did. Verstappen said at the time some of the stewards actually favored some of the drivers over others, quoting, "I don't think stewards should talk to the media at all or be in the media." You agree with that? I'm not so certain I do. Being in the media is one thing. Talking to the media is another.
Yeah. That's a huge difference.
You know, what have we seen over the last several years between the United Football League, used to be the old USFL/XFL. The NFL's done it. College football's doing it to a certain extent. You get a referee who is, available to the announcers pretty much at any time for clarification. I don't have a problem with that. I actually think that it adds something to it. Having an explanation from a race steward, I think, adds something to it. Having him as a member of the media, in other words, employed by, in this case, Sky Sports, I think that's a problem.
Massive difference. You should be able to have access to an official.
For explanation purposes.
We're going to use the example of the way CBS uses Gene Steratore.
Yeah.
The way on college football related stuff, the way ESPN uses Matt Austin and
the other guy.
What's the dadgummit, what's that other guy's name? He's always on with Herb Street and Fowler.
In the end, it really doesn't matter.
NBC uses Fox uses I'm drawing a complete blank.
In the end, it doesn't matter. What we know is that you have the ability to go in and get clarification on a ruling. Okay? In the case of football, it's a penalty. Or why was this turnover upheld or not upheld? Having the ability to talk to a race steward to get clarification on why Max Verstappen was slapped with a 20-second penalty, I got no problem with that. But should he be employed by Sky Sports?
Bill LeMonier with ESPN.
Okay.
That's the guy.
But should he be employed by Sky Sports? And I don't think he should.
No, he shouldn't be. There needs to be you should get is somebody that is a former official, and it may be along the lines of what's being said here, but have a former official that knows the inner workings of the rule book and how rules are interpreted.
Yeah.
Or how penalties are interpreted. So whatever it needs to be. Bill LeMonnier, Matt Austin, Gene Steratore. Those are examples.
And they're retired from their roles as referees. They're retired their roles.
So they know what it is, but they can give an unbiased opinion on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a wild idea. Let's have one of the television broadcasting partners. Have David Hoots as your rules analyst.
Wouldn't that be nice? I'd like that.
Or he's still a current steward, but if he wasn't doing it, have Max Pappas doing IndyCar.
There you go.
Okay. Have somebody that is a former F1 steward that no longer does it.
That's the key. No longer does it
in that same position.
Yeah. He was actually supposed to be one of the 4 race stewards that was going to be at the Australian Grand Prix, but he's not going to be there. FIA confirmed that. They said he's widely respected. We thank him for his service, wish him well as we kick his butt out the door. That's a paraphrase, not a quote. Race stewards, like umpires and referees, for the most part in the United States and stick and ball sports, are not usually full-time employees, and that led George Russell, who's the head of the Grand Prix Drivers Association, to call on the FIA to change it. Make them full-time, he says, so that they aren't looking to supplement their income through other jobs like Herbert did. The FIA hasn't commented on that. We'll see. Ferrari continues to use that TPC, or testing of a previous car, loophole to get Lewis Hamilton more and more time behind the wheel and kind of more and more familiar with Ferrari's way of doing things as opposed to Mercedes' way. They were at Barcelona's Circuit de Catalunya for 3 days this past week, Tuesday through Thursday, trying to put Hamilton through their 2023 racing paces along with their new teammate Charles Leclerc, so the two can practice kind of working together on and off the track and get to know each other's styles. Now, the TPC rules do have limits. Drivers can accrue no more than 1,000 kilometers total over any given year in a TPC setup. Hamilton's run at Fiorano, which we talked about last week, only covered 89 of those kilometers. So he and Leclerc, really, who had run anything so far this season, had plenty of available kilometers to be able to run. The two were slated to take part in a Pirelli tire test slated for Barcelona later this week, February 4th and 5th as well. This is going to be by F1 rules, what's called a Mule 2024 racer. Something that's got no relation, in other words, to this coming year's racer, so that you don't gain any kind of information over anybody else. As it turned out, they only used 2 days of the testing, because on the second day of the testing of the previous car that Ferrari was putting out there, Lewis Hamilton showed he's actually human. Reports, because there was no video of this, have Hamilton running off the course at Circuit de Catalunya and ramming the 2023 Ferrari racer into a barrier. ESPN reports that Hamilton was unhurt. Ferrari states it's not a major setback. Their preseason schedule for both Hamilton and Leclerc still pretty much on slate. Next up on the schedule, again, that Pirelli tire test that we just mentioned. After that, Hamilton will be behind the wheel at the F1 Reveal in London before they head off to Bahrain with the 2025 cars for 3 days of preseason testing. All the teams will get to do the last 3 days in the month of February. And then, of course, we get into the season, the Australian Grand Prix, which, by the way, benefits from a new sponsor. It's an interesting one. They've signed a 10-year deal to be an official partner of F1, and the result is that the season opening race is now known as the Louis Vuitton Australian Grand Prix. Okay.
So who's going to walk around with Louis Vuitton bags and whatnot on the grid? Oh, let me show you my bag here before I get in the car.
They make race suits?
I wouldn't put it past them.
I could be getting into the business. We don't know. The company's going to be involved in a whole lot of events on many race weekends throughout the course of the year. This will include having the trophies put in a specific Louis Vuitton case that will be wheeled out. Then they open it up and present the trophies to the drivers. Okay. Knock yourself out, I guess. Madrid's mayor and the city council, by the way, are both proclaiming that they're going to be ready. Okay. that may or may not be a good sign, because we've heard stuff like this before, and sometimes it works and sometimes it falls flat on its face. We're talking about the upcoming Madrid City Street Course for the Madrid Grand Prix. It's supposed to be about 3.2 miles long. It's set to feature about 20 turns at least, but work has yet to begin. City Council says they've been in regular contact with the race organizers, who have a 10-year deal with F1 that's set to begin next year to host the series. Note that they have 5 bids for the construction submitted to them, 2 from construction companies. The other 3 are from businesses that are interested in doing the work, but they aren't necessarily based in construction. Okay, deadline for F1 to begin the work, 14 months ahead of the race. The race is slated to run September 2026, so there is some time before they hit that deadline. Mayor Martinez Almeida insists that the race, quote, will be held and will be a success, and told the readers of Europa Press, who he interviewed with, to stay calm.
Why do I envision Kevin Bacon in Animal House standing there going, stay calm?
Ladies and gentlemen, Matt and I were on the same page. This is that situation where the duck on the top of the water looks like everything's all fine and dandy, but underneath, those feet are just going a mile a minute trying to get him to move.
Yeah.
I hope he ain't covering for something, man. I really do. Because you signed a 10-year deal. That is a massive commitment, and if you can't match up to it, whew, ugly.
fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
Well, we just got done talking about what Madrid is trying to do as far as hosting a city street course F1 race next year. Now, South African officials are talking about their position when it comes to hosting an F1 race in the country. They've extended their deadline to host bids. Okay. The idea of trying to go back to the Kyalami circuit apparently went down the drain back in 2023, but while that was a setback, South African government still wants to end the drought of no F1 in the country, which is currently at 32 years and counting. The government's Ministry of Sport, Arts, and Culture has now pivoted and opened up bidding to other potential race promoters and organizers to try to put together a race, be it on a dedicated road course or a city street course. Problem with Kyalami is that at one point in time, yes, it was an FIA Grade 1 course, but it isn't any longer because of changes in the regulations, number one, and number two, lack of upgrades over the course of time. So while the work is being done on Kyalami, they don't have any particular deadline for getting it done. And our reports are that there is a possible bid from the Cape Town Grand Prix Association. They are thinking about a 3+ mile street course in downtown Cape Town along the waterfront near what they call DHL Stadium for the soccer team, I would presume.
Oh, yeah.
And the initial deadline, which was just yesterday as we air live, January the 31st, is now March 18th. And then
get to work.
Yeah, really. And then there's weird rules around the world when it comes to when you can and can't get a driver's license. As it turned out, Kimi Antonelli, incoming driver for Mercedes. He's the guy that's going to take over the seat that was previously occupied by one Lewis Hamilton. He was announced to drive at the top level of open wheel racing in the FIA, Formula One, before he was legally able to drive a car on the street. He finally has been able to do that. Antonelli, Italian, in Italy, the minimum age to be able to get a driver's license is 18. He did turn 18 last August, but he could not work the time in because of his racing schedule to take his driver's test until this past week. Thankfully, he passed. Because otherwise, we'd have something to laugh about more on here on this show.
Imagine being able to drive the Mercedes W13 or W15, whatever their code name is for this year, before you can even drive on the streets of Rome.
Amazing. Huh?
Crazy.
NHRA officials announced on Thursday morning they're going to break out a new bonus schedule. There's something, obviously, that we have kept up with here on this show called the Chase for the Championship. You know that. It's that 6-race slate of races, 6-race slate of races or events, however you want to put it, that starts after the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis, and you kind of reset the points for those who made the playoffs and figure out who gets the championship amongst 10-ish drivers, right? Well, now we're going to add a regular season championship. Total purse to be doled out over the course of the year, about $25 million. This includes the regular payout at the end of any regular season event throughout the season, but also includes the bonus payout to the season's champion in all 4 of the Mission Foods Drag Racing Series. Talking Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock Motorcycle. But again, now they are introducing regular season champion. The driver or rider who is at the top of the points in their division heading into the chase for the championship will get a bonus of $400,000. NHRA President Glenn Cromwell said, quote, "It has always been our goal to incentivize our amazing racers at all levels, and we've been intently focused on introducing new ways to reward our drivers and our race teams." So the question becomes, will this make a difference? Or let's put it another way. Does the regular season champion generally win the regular or the season title overall?
Nope.
Not necessarily, no. Let's look back at just last year, just as one example. 2024, Top Fuel champion, Antron Brown, right? He was not the regular season champion. That was Doug Colita. In Funny Car, Austin Prock won both. He was the dominant guy all year long, won the regular season title, won the full season title as well. Pro Stock Motorcycles title, or Pro Stock Car, I should say, the title there went to Dallas Glenn, but your regular season champion was Greg Anderson in 2024. And then there's Pro Stock Motorcycle. The winner of practically everything was Gage Herrera. So in 2 of the divisions, the guy who won the regular season title did not win the season title. So, yeah, it would make a difference. Absolutely. $400,000. Nice little incentive, man.
Yep.
KB Titan Racing has announced they've signed Cody Coughlin. Coughlin's going to drive one of their pro stock entries for this 2025 season, the full year. Coughlin comes in as the NHRA Rookie of the Year candidate, but he's far from experienced, coming over from, well, spending some time in stock cars. Arca Menard Series, Craftsman Truck Series, got in some ASA CRA racing over the past several years. Meantime, the Coughlin family business seems to be NHRA racing. His father, John, 5-time winner across 3 different divisions. Cody talked about that a little bit further, said, quote, "My dad, John, raced pro stock truck back in the 1990s. My uncles, Jeg, Troy, and my cousin, TJ, they've all raced in the class." Added that he's always, though, been interested in getting into pro stock cars, a category that his friend Greg Anderson actually helped stoke. That little fire there. Coughlin said, quote, "I was congratulating Greg on his championship just this past year, and just in talking, I realized we had a good camaraderie. We get along. I wanted to give the sport a try. KB Titan Racing has a really great program. Led to some fruitful discussions. We went to the track. Everyone meshed well. It's a good fit. Stock car racing, now in the rearview mirror. Go to the family business, man."
Should have stayed there.
Yeah.
Should have stayed there.
John Force Racing has announced they've extended their partnership with HendrickCars.com, partnership that covers all 3 rides. The top fueler of Brittany Force and the twin funny car entries of Austin Prock and Fast Jack Beckman. Jack Beckman still driving that car while John Force continues to recover from that major crash that he suffered last year in Richmond. The brand's going to be prominent on Brittany Force's top fuel entry, going to be the primary sponsor of that entry at ZMAX Dragway in Charlotte, and become an associate sponsor on that ride for the full year. The brand will be an associate sponsor for the funny car entries for the entirety of 2025. And you think to yourself, Rick Hendrick's known for NASCAR, right? Hell yeah. So why the NHRA? Rick Hendrick talked about it, said, quote, "I've had a lifelong passion for drag racing. It's how I first fell in love with motorsports, going to the local drag strip with my dad. I've been a fan of John Force's and his family for a long time, and our company is proud to partner with everyone at John Force Racing." So now you know the connection.
Yep.
Had a couple of teams, 3 of them specifically, headed west for an open IndyCar test at Thermal Club. It's going to host a points race this season as opposed to the exhibition $1 million all-star race that they did last year. Prima Racing apparently has done their homework. They came out swinging. They brought both 2025 drivers, Robert Schwartzman and Callum Ilott. The times apparently on par with the established teams. Now, this was a private test, so lap times were not officially released, but unofficial times revealed that Schwartzman was 3rd amongst the 6 drivers taking part in the test, and he was only 0.175 seconds behind the best lap, so not quite 0.2 of a second behind the best lap set by Marcus Ericsson of Andretti Global. His teammate Kyle Kirkwood, Marcus Ericsson's teammate Kyle Kirkwood, was 2nd quick. Then you got Schwartzman. Then you got Ilott, who, despite having some problems, was only 0.1 of a second behind Schwartzman. Filling out the top 6, Andretti Global brought a 3rd car, Colton Herta. He was 5th fastest, not quite 0.3 of a second behind the fast time. Herta was apparently on top of the speed chart for most of the morning session until the others got dialed in. And then you got a problem. Coming in 6th out of the 6, Dale Coyne bringing in noted rookie Jacob Abel, a guy who we saw last year when we were at Barber Motorsports Park running Indy Next.
Walked off and left everybody.
Yeah. Schooled everybody in that. But Jacob Abel was 1.4 seconds off the pace. That goes back to that question that we have asked how many times here? Was it the driver or the car?
That would be the car.
There you go. Team said that they were happy with Abel. They say they know he is still learning. Apparently, so are they trying to build a car. We talked about Zach Brown just a couple of minutes ago when we were talking about the IROC series. He has his hands full also in both IndyCar and F1. He likes some of the things that IndyCar is doing. Says he feels like, though, they could learn a little bit more from Formula One. Okay, let's see how this goes. Brown said at the Autosport Business Exchange seminar in London this week that the broadcast deal with Fox, between Fox and IndyCar, is a great start for the series. And he's right. This is allowing them to get all of their races on the major network. Perfect. And they're getting a heck of a lot of promotional activity out of it, too. But he countered with this. I don't think IndyCar slipstreams Formula One as much as it could. They kind of want to do their own thing, which I think is great, but when you see how popular Formula One is, I don't see Formula One and IndyCar being competitive with each other. I think IndyCar should slipstream on the back of Formula One's success. I think they need to do more of it. One thing that he noted as a plus is not just the Fox deal, but a revamp in the schedule. Said that he thinks that a step in the right direction is the 2026 Arlington Grand Prix. Says he feels it's going to be a lot like F1's Miami Grand Prix, one of the more popular races on the slate. But he anticipates that the new for 2027 chassis, it's just way overdue. He noted all the other major series, noted F1, noted NASCAR, noted IMSA, noted the World Endurance Challenge Series. All have upgraded their chassis maybe more than once over that time since IndyCar last upgraded their own. Said he's looking forward to it, but he feels that IndyCar leaders need to be more proactive. But again, are we changing just for change's sake?
In some ways, a lot of series, I think, do change just for change's sake.
I mean, the DW12 chassis, I get it. Yeah, it's now going into its 13th season. I understand that, but it works.
See, I've always thought that chassis has been tweaked and been worked on in some ways because, and I'm going to give an example here.
Okay.
You've got you got 3 different cars on the iRacing simulation platform. You got the IR05, the DW12, and the current car, which is the Dallara IR08.
Okay.
Is it the same car? I know the DW12 is different from the IR05. I know that.
The IR08, just an evolution of the DW12.
Then that means they've got to have done something to it.
Yeah. Somewhere down the line, they've done small tweaks to it. 2027 is supposed to be a major upgrade. But again, the massive complaint amongst everybody, and we talked about Joseph Newgarden just last week talking about this, they want it to be instead of evolutionary, they want it to be revolutionary. That
makes sense.
They want the look to be a little bit different. They want it, Joseph Newgarden talked about it, wanting it to be much lighter than apparently it currently is.
If you go much lighter and you're getting the horsepower larger, we're going to be tacking 250 going off in the corners at Indy.
You better have the tires to be able to do it, Firestone. Just saying.
You better have other things in check, too. Still.
Team Penske has seemed to be one of the most stable organizations in all of racing for a very long time. So this comes as a little bit of a shock. It's owned by Roger Penske, we get that, but largely it's been run by Tim Cindric, the father of Cup Series driver Austin Cindric. But Tim has announced he's stepping away from the day-to-day operations of the team effective immediately. He will retain the title of president of the IndyCar arm of the operation. He will oversee the IndyCar side, but everything else basically is going to be turned over to a consortium of other people. Tim Cindric's been the president of Team Penske since 2006, named to that post after joining the organization back in 1999. He was suspended, though, along with 3 other Team Penske executives in that scandal last year about push to pass. Cindric said of the decision, quote, "I've decided I need to make a change that provides me with the flexibility that I need at this stage of my career. I appreciate the understanding Roger has provided throughout our conversations, and I'm confident this team will continue to succeed as we have a proven leadership team in place in all areas. His role, as I noted, is going to be split amongst 3 different people. All of them will now report directly to the captain, Roger Penske. And Tim Cindric just gets to deal with the IndyCar team." I wonder what the pressure was. Just feel like you got too many irons in the fire?
Probably.
And I respect it. I get it. I mean, at some point in time, you just got to look at it and go, do I really want to do all of this all the time?
True. That is true.
And that may be what the situation was. And finally, we turn our attention over to Formula E. We mentioned the FIA releasing Johnny Herbert from his role as the Formula One race steward earlier in the show. As it to be hosting a celebrity event as well. This ought to be interesting. Each team is going to offer up one of their rides and turn it over to one of 11 celebrities, quote unquote, to give them an idea of what the series is all about. Some of the celebrities: Brooklyn Beckham, who's the daughter of ex-soccer superstar David Beckham. Speaking of ex-soccer stars, noted Argentinian player Sergio Aguero, who passed the Formula E test, is set up for them. Don't know who all the other ones are. Testing includes simulator sessions, physical conditioning, driver coaching, engineering debriefing. Others that will be there include actors, social media influencers, a custom car builders there. More to be announced soon. I didn't give you the names because nobody would recognize them. They're all people from overseas. But they're going to do this in the United States of America. Shouldn't you get some people that the people here in the United States know? That guy right there is available. That would be some great press for Formula E to get, I don't know, somebody from a racing show on to do it.
Even though I'm pissed to deal with physical therapy, I know some good therapy that would work the right foot. You know, pushing a battery charger pedal.
Y'all enjoy the clash at Bowman Gray. We'll talk to you next week.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.